Fagin Live channel. It is Monday, 27th of March, 10 p.m. in Kiev, and same time, 10 p.m. in Moscow. We're starting the usual stream, day 397 with Alexey Arestovich. Hello, Alexey. Good evening, everybody. We have over 50,000 watching us live, over 13,000 click the like button. Those who already joined, please let the others know that we are live. If you post a link to that stream in your social media, that will bring us higher in YouTube and bring your friends, acquaintances to our table. All right, don't forget to subscribe to Fagin Live, to Alexey Arestovich, and to the Privateer Station if you have not done that yet. Let's start. We had a stream yesterday, but there were some changes during the last 24 hours, and some topics that we discussed yesterday were continued to develop today. So let's start first with the situation, with the announcement of placement of nukes in Belarus. It got some continuation. Your version, which is discussable, that China is upset. Today we had a statement by Ministry of Foreign Affairs of China. They actually presented their point of view through a nice-looking lady who is working for that ministry. They have not used the word condemn. You think it's a transparent signal? Do you think they need it? Public transparent signal? To China, of course, of course. They showed the whole world that they did not change their position, that they are against the use or any threat of nuclear weapons. And basically that today's management of Russia are assholes, and that's what Chinese said in their diplomatic language. You know why they also let the lady out? To draw more attention to it. Yeah, I was thinking, why? Normally it's usually men who are coming out from that ministry. Yeah, I think they're creating a point. They're making a point here, and they're drawing more attention to their statement. They refused Putin offer for cooperation, and I think they refused to support him. And I can only imagine the degree of cursing happening in Beijing, because their visit was completely crossed over, and Putin basically spat on their backs as they were flying back home. Chinese who do like predictable and organized politics, and they discussed a joint statement about anti-nukes and all, and Russia then changes course and does a 180. So in order to understand Chinese decision, I'd also suggest look at the alternative. What would be an alternative in this case? What would be an alternative in this case? For China to not say anything, right? So they did make a statement, though. They did not stay mum. And that means the signal did go through. And the statement that they do not approve of nuclear placement in Belarus, that basically is a statement that they do not support Russian position. And I think it's their Asian way of doing it, of presenting that statement in that manner. And once again, apologies for Alexey's video and audio. He is traveling, so he's finding ways to get online regardless. He's saying that and promising that by Wednesday he'll be back in the usual location. So please be kind to his audio. Alright, then let's look on the map. We'll bring it up and we'll show it to the viewers. You probably know it by heart. I do, yes. The last 24 hours, situation didn't change much. The enemy is somewhat quieting down and dying. Their steam is out. And it was not just my guesstimate. I was following the statements of our military officials, and they do say that near Bakhmut it is the time of intensive fighting. It's very heavy fighting, but the situation is controllable and stable. It's heavy, it's difficult, but it's controllable. And also today there was a statement that Ukrainian military forces are not letting volunteers and journalists to Avdiivka, basically because... You mean Avdiivka or Bakhmut? Avdiivka. Yeah, it means that it's a red zone now. It means that the enemy is undertaking new attempts to take Avdiivka. So the situation became much hotter, and anybody who is not positioned there militarily shouldn't be in the area. So it means that the enemy is transferring some of the attempts from Bakhmut to Avdiivka, and I would say this is probably their last-ditch effort. Knowing generally the situation of the enemy, they threw the last of their reserves to prove, despite the Ukrainian propaganda, that the steam is out. They are still trying to add some steam, at least on small parts of the front. Maybe it's a loud statement on my behalf to say that this is a last-ditch effort, but it's definitely an attempt to solve the unsolvable task. Very likely there was a scream from Moscow at their command that was forcing them to try and take these two locations again. And they're just sending their troops to die under machine guns to try and capture. This is definitely not a military decision. This is very likely a political decision. And I suspect it is a reaction to statements of Ukrainian military and politicians and leadership, and probably to our streams too, that the enemy is out of steam. So they're trying to dispel that and show that, hey, we still got some. And I think it's definitely a political statement that they're making there. It's not a military operation, really. It's a scream from Kremlin to do something. Okay, let's also take a look at the northern part of the front, Alexei. There are some news about Russian troops trying to attack towards Chasov Yar to maybe close the encirclement of Bakhmut. Well, we understand the logic. If their pincer is targeting Chasov Yar, they don't... It's simple, yeah, that would be the proper movement for the pincer, and they don't even need to cut Chasov Yar fully. They just need to start attacking it in order to transfer the point of contention from Bakhmut to the west. And so far we don't see that. It's a hot area, yes, many artillery shells and other things reach it, so it's a difficult place to live in, and not blaming any civilians who have to move out, but they cannot even encircle Bakhmut. I don't see them being able to successfully capture Chasov Yar. I know a little bit about their capabilities on that front and the logic and what they're doing, but I think it's fully political statement that's happening there now. That our political command said Bakhmut and Avdiivka are standing, and Russia is screaming that they should not be. And they're trying to maybe take it. Militarily, in order to achieve anything, they need to finish the pincer movement, but good luck doing that. So it's about 8-9 kilometers from Bakhmut to Chasov Yar directly, right? Yes, it is a Donetsk region. It's an agglomeration of one settlement going into another. So it's very difficult to find area that is uninhabited there, so it's kind of one going into another. Same was with Severodonetsk and Lysychansk. And basically, yeah, I would say Alexei, Chasov Yar stops and Bakhmut starts. It's sometimes hard to tell where. Those who've been there, yeah, they know. It's one massive. All right, well, We'll see. I think this is a political push. I might change my opinion depending on how the events unfold, but so far it looks like they've been steaming out. They were dying, and being weaker and less active. Our command would not have made the statement if we were not observing that. Those who've been on the front, they saw that their intensity went down noticeably. Compared with the peak of their activities earlier, we could tell that, yeah, they're running out of energy. And that became a subject of discussion in press. Ukrainian leadership made a few statements, and Russian leadership made a few statements, and then all of a sudden, there is a revived activity near Bakhmut and Avdiivka. Why the F? If I was the military position there, I would be thinking that all of a sudden, after running out of steam, after slowing down their activities, all of a sudden, without getting any reinforcement, they are starting the activity again anew. So militarily, that makes no sense. The commander, operating officers there would not be in favor of such operations, but that means that probably Kremlin sent a very strong signal to them, because they did not get any reinforcements, really. It's what they have. Now again, we'll see and learn more how it goes, but these fights are lacking perspective for Russian Federation. Obviously, they are heavy for our troops defending the positions. It is a heavy fighting, but strategically, it's pointless. All right. There was a statement that an urgent meeting of the Security Council of United Nations will happen on Tuesday or Wednesday. United States announced that, and there was immediate reaction of Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs that this is an inadequate reaction by some countries to the placement of Russian tactical nukes in Belarus. Tactical nukes are placed on the territory of Belarus, which has the same military doctrine with Russia, and this is a safety measure in the framework of allied relations. And they do not see that as a violation of any international treaty. Well, look, Mark, they need to react when United Nations gather an urgent session of Security Council. Russia needs to bring some fake topics to it, so they pull it out of you-know-where. And one of them is the fear of Russians or the hate of Russians, right? If we were hating Russians blanketly, as they're stating, we would not have a detachment, Freedom of Russia, fighting with us together on our side against Putin's regime in Ukraine for the last year. We actually are training and arming them. So we do not know, we're not what they're saying. But at the same time, they're trying to diminish the effort, the way it is presented outside, that no, we're not bringing any nukes to other countries, we just brought a couple tacticals to our ally. And from my point of view, it'll be interesting to see China's position, because they are the permanent member of United Nations Security Council, and it'll be curious to see what they say. President Zelensky also met with the head of Nuclear Committee, International Nuclear Committee, and the efforts to create a security zone again near the Zaporozhye power plant failed. It is not a safe zone. The efforts for the international community to somehow demilitarize that area were not successful. Russia was denying their efforts. And he actually is coming, and he's sending the emissaries over. And it shows that our president is giving a lot of attention to the nuclear matter, that he is visiting hotspots, he is discussing issues with foreign partners, while Russian president is hiding in a bunker. And I would argue here that Ukraine, under circumstances, is very adequate. We are fighting a war for our survival, and while doing that, even though we do have a full set of rights, right, when you're surviving, there are a lot of rights that you would not normally have, and capabilities to demand certain things, because it is to be or not to be question for us. And while doing that, we're also demonstrating that we're very adequate. We're negotiating with international communities, using their aid and people to work with nuclear objects. We are trying to be as logical and adequate as possible. And Russia, in the meantime, offending and invading into our territory, is neglecting international nuclear treaties. All right. Good point, Alexei. Another piece of news, the government of Germany is not confirming Leopard 2 delivery date yet. There was in the news that 18 tanks were already supplied, and there was a link to the Minister of Defense, Reznikov, that Ukrainian Minister of Defense, that all the heavy equipment is flowing into Ukraine in accordance with the schedule. Mark, I worked with him for 2 years, 2.5 years. I'm personal friends with him. And in 2.5 years, under different circumstances, very trying circumstances, he never violated his word. So if he made a statement, I do trust him. And yeah, we trust you, Alexei. He did make a statement that Challengers, Strikers, and Martyrs are already being used by Ukrainian military. And by the storm detachments of Ukrainian military. I would also make an emphasis here at the storming detachments, because this is a present from Ukraine to these invaders. Well, right, Alexei. President did make a statement, the Ukrainian president, that things are flowing, but Russian president is making statements that no, Ukraine is not getting enough, and Russian media is also peddling this, that Ukraine is not getting enough support. Well, Mark, it's three factors that are coming jointly here. Weather, first of all, it needs to be favorable, it needs to dry up a little. Most of the equipment that we're hoping for, that we are planning for, should be already here and ready to fight. And another important part is that they need to run out of steam. They need to slow down a little, basically run out of their current resources. And then they will get the whole blow by all these Martyrs, Strikers, Bradleys, Challengers, and Leopards. They need to sit tight and wait. It's already knocking on their doors, so. Okay, another topic. European Parliament approved Finland joining NATO. I think this is a foregone conclusion that yes, they are. They are a part of NATO. Now about Sweden, do you think anything changed there? No, it still stays the same. At the end of after the elections of President of Turkey, this matter will likely resurface again. It will be whoever wins, if it's going to be Erdogan or a new person in power, they'll be making a decision of Turkish position. Because without them, Swedish parliament, Swedish president, they would definitely approve of such a move, and actually voting in the framework of Turkey and Sweden, that can be organized rather rapidly, if need be, even in a term of 1 or a couple of days. Even in Turkey, they understand that taking a very drastic position against the position of most NATO countries and European members may have some repercussions. So we'll see. I am reservedly optimistic. Okay, Alexei, there was another statement from the Human Rights Committee in Europe that was very lukewarm, that was looking at both sides of the conflict and saying that there are mistakes on both sides. And Nikolenko, the representative of Ukraine, criticized this report. There's a hot topic, one of the hot contentious topic in this report is Russian Orthodox Church position in Ukraine. And this report did bring this up. It said that this church is being expelled from Kiev-Pechora Lavra, the traditional area that they occupied for a long time, and they're bringing some samples, some actions that could be considered questionable, but I personally wouldn't say they're too harsh or too condemning. They are not awful enough to scream that, yeah, indeed, some rights of monks are being offended. Moscow is screaming, though, but yeah. So today in the news, they're saying that Moscow church is being pushed out of those buildings, and some of their property is being removed. So do you think the freedoms and rights in Ukraine are suffering as the result of this war? Mark, let me make a statement. Ukrainian power, Ukrainian leadership is being criticized from all directions. If you look into, let's say, Ukrainian Facebook, your hair on your legs will go up upon reading what people are saying about the current leadership. And a lot of critics are civilian, many critics are military, the ones who are serving the military. We have different people there, right? They're active duty servicemen who are criticizing their leadership. In many countries of the world, military people do not have freedom to criticize political leadership. In Ukraine, they do. They have freedom to express their opinion. So when people are saying that there are no freedoms in Ukraine, I allow myself to not believe that. I'm sorry, but my position is we have too much freedoms, and we're not hunting down the opposition and the voices. Now, there is a position about diminishing some rights of TV channels. That's a more delicate situation, because there are some TV channels that were taking certain positions. And when they refuse to support or provide coverage for the efforts of leadership and Ukraine, some other channels stepped in and decided, okay, we will do that. Oh, you're talking about the telemarathon freedom? Right. So there were some TV channels that refused to participate in that earlier. And then three other channels, there's a group of other channels came in and said, okay, we will. Right. So now you have three channels that are outside of that marathon. Right. And these are the ones screaming that it is some sort of violation. Yeah, what we did, it's... I would say, in our defense, it's a concentrated stream, and that's what position is happening. The position that leadership has taken, the government has taken, that we're concentrating the message within the channels that are eager to work with us. And it's the war times. I think people should understand that, of course, while critique of leadership is important, critique of decision is important, there are situations when perhaps it should be toned down a bit, because we do need to first make sure that we do survive. And in order for us to continue to get even more support and dispel all these accusations, we need to have a stronger message. I think our counteroffensive will be the best proof that we are sending this strong message, that we are capable to push the enemy back, because morally and ethically we already are on the higher ground, but we also need to prove that we are capable of using Western arms, and this needs to be demonstrated to foreign taxpayers and their leadership, that these money, millions of dollars spent on Ukraine, is more akin to investment than a waste, that Ukraine is actually performing an important security service for the whole world. And we are passing this test every day, every hour of this war, and every media message is also part of that. And I think the effort to create a joint message, a joint stream of news and information taken by leadership is a correct move. So one can criticize that some channel is not part of that group, but that's on that channel technically. At the same time, do not blanketly scream that there is no critique possible in Ukraine. I am a member of Ukrainian society. I'm seeing what's happening inside. Everybody is saying what they want to say. So, no, this is incorrect. And as for the position about persecutions related to Moscow Orthodox Church, I would agree that church as an organization should not be oppressed, should not be persecuted. This is a very delicate topic, and we should not be painting them as a target. But individual monks, those who can be proven to be collaborating with our foes, those should be prosecuted criminally if we have enough evidence. And I think our leadership is going through another serious exam here, because they have to go on the one side between the society that is very aggressively do not like Moscow Orthodox Church and their representation here in Ukraine, although there is a big group of people of followers of that church who are actually fighting on the front on our side. It's more of a question of tradition. If their grandfathers, grandmothers, mothers, fathers were belonging to that church, it's not a decision somebody makes lightly to switch. And on the other side, they do still need to act, because there are collaborants, there are proven cases of collaborants, and for whatever reason, there is a lot of them in this organization. So this is the exam that Ukrainian leadership needs to pass very delicately. And I would say that this needs to be brought to be in the light of media as much as it can be, because Ukrainian government, Ukrainian leadership needs to make a proper statement that this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing that, this is what we're not doing, so that people would understand and respect what is happening there. And I hope approve if that is a correct set of actions. And again, I'll reiterate, church as a church should not be prosecuted, as an organization should not be discriminated against, but individuals who are proven to be collaborants, they need to be prosecuted. And unfortunately, there are a lot of examples where priests of that church, of that organization, were indeed supporting Russian side by word and by deed. In our country, it is very difficult to prosecute people for their opinion, but it is doable to do that when people actually act, when they're not just speaking, when just talking about their position, but when they're acting, that's when we can. And situations when somebody like Petrenko is being grabbed by his butt with our counterintelligence services, it's not because he is representative of that church. It's because we have enough evidence that he was collaborating with Russian agents and with the invading party. So I would say the other question is that one should ask why people who are prone to criminal dealings and to collaborating with our military opponents, why their concentration within that organization is so high. So that's a question to the church as an organization. And this is not an easy question because, for example, American supporters are Republicans in America. They are very church-going people. They are very rather religious people. And whenever things of church developments are being brought to the limelight, they take it with a certain caution about the Ukraine's position. And for example, on the Fox News, there was a material that pointedly said that Zelensky is prosecuting church in Ukraine. So that's raising red flags to American taxpayers. We need to be very careful that we do not create such an image. We're not attacking church. And we need to talk more, and we need to actually be more open and transparent that we're not villains here. We actually have 80% of our population who consider themselves believers and go to different services and belong to church organizations. Many of them are fighting on the front, and each detachment on the front actually has on the right in America, there is a point of view that Ukraine is a sort of the focal point of all the LGBT and weird societal changes support, and that Putin is representative of conservatism and that he's better than whatever is in Ukraine. But they are missing the point that Moscow, right, Alexei, Moscow believes in nothing. They don't believe in God. And LGBTQ, they are part of that. They are very playful there, for lack of a better word. But I want to say here that 80% of our troops, of a fighting nation, saying that we do believe in God, that we are belonging to churches. There are different confessions, Orthodox confessions on the front. We actually, each detachment has a chaplain in it. So we have Georgian, Jewish, Armenian churches, and Ukraine is religiously very tolerant. There was a case here, probably unique in the world history, when priests of Ukraine Orthodoxy of Kievan Patriarchy were expelled from Crimea, from their buildings in Crimea. Mullahs from our Islam representatives actually allowed them to conduct their services and sermons in the Islamic establishments. So this is I would say, unprecedented example. And people who are giving their lives on the front for European values, they belong to different churches here, and many of them belong to the Moscow Patriarchy. It's a tradition, it could be a tradition within their family. And at the same time, there is an organization where a rather high percent of priests are involved in Russian propaganda and support of Russia. I'm not of an opinion that they're all FSB agents dressed up and cosplaying church, but they definitely have an issue with infiltration. And I think we will, as a country, make a right decision and solve this matter delicately. But it needs to be brought to light. It's a very sensitive one. Okay, we are being watched by 300,000 people live. We're almost at 100,000 likes. All right, Mark, I'm leaving the stream. Not enough likes, under 100K, guys, unacceptable. Make sure you click the like button. All right, don't forget to click that button and subscribe to Alexei's channel and to our channel and to Privateer Station if you have not done that yet. All right, another topic we want to discuss. Armenia's situation continues to unfold. Armenia confirmed that they're belonging to the Roman Statute, that that Armenia is joining the group of countries that are considering Roman Statute to be active, and they're following that. So Moscow is screaming that they absolutely hate the decision of Armenia, and this is improper, and it should not be done this way. For those who don't know, Roman Statute is the organization of different countries who are joined willfully by member countries. So Armenia is now joining that group. And technically, they will have to execute the order of that International Criminal Court if Putin visits Armenia. By the way, Tajikistan is also the member of the same organization. They not only signed that, they also ratified it in their parliament. I understand their parliament is not an example of democracy, but still, they're another member of Common Defense Treaty that Russia was a part of, is still a part of. So there is a painful reaction from Kremlin. So what is Kremlin, though, Mark? Kremlin says that Ukraine joining NATO is the end of the world, and it's a warrant enough for Russia to invade Ukraine or maybe start a third world war. At the same time, Finland, which has a huge border with Russia, is fine. So Armenia joining Roman Statute is bad, but Tajikistan is good. So this is not a country that is flying straight. It's not a straight arrow. It's a country who just hysterical and is playing its own games and shenanigans. They're picking and choosing, they have double standards. I'll remind here the phrase that a man is not the one who can fight, a man is the one who knows the enemy. And I would say for Armenia, the best thing they can do, even after the 100 years of oppression and interaction with Russia, needs to understand that they need to have enough courage to come to an agreement with their border states, with their neighbors in the region, and not with a country that held them hostage for hundreds of years and then basically stabbed in the back recently when the new events were happening. Because Russia, Turkey, and Azerbaijan have a lot of joint interests, but their interests are all surrounding Armenia, which, by the way, was hoping for Russian help in their current tribulations. And I would say that Iran is probably more an ally for Armenia in the current situation than Russia is. So in this situation, Russia screaming about Armenia, well, yeah, they're just picking and choosing. They have double standards. Armenia will decide for itself, but I think they should understand the true disposition of powers in that region and end their dependency on Moscow once and forever. And whenever they separate themselves and become a truly independent country and find a way to negotiate with neighbors and make sure that they have their economy in order and political freedoms in order, then their relations with Moscow will come to a new level. Not as a satellite that Moscow sees them, but as a country that Moscow understands is an independent country and has rights to make their own decisions. All right, we've been 38 almost minutes live. Are we above 100K now with likes? Yeah, they did. Okay, I'm staying in the stream then, Mark. Many people are asking here about the plans of France to buy back from United Arab Emirates their Mirage jet fighters up to the quantity of 40 and perhaps transfer them to Ukraine. That has not been supported yet, but what do you think about it? Yeah, there was a lot of journalists publishing different things about it, but I would say that aviation is not just jets, it's also training. It's also technicians and infrastructure that allows to repair and rebuild the equipment if necessary, which is not simple, because the school of support that is prevalent in Ukraine is post-USSR. It is not Western. There is a difference. There is a notable difference. Not diminish the achievements of our aviation. They actually are amazing. They were given maybe 3 hours to live after the beginning of war, and they're still making about 20 sorties a day and very much alive and kicking. This is definitely a heroic group of troops, and everybody there in Air Force are heroes, in my opinion, from their leadership to the pilots and to the technicians on the ground, because they need to continue doing their work even though they're at disadvantage and they're being hunted down by our foes, but they're still shooting at their troops, they're still shooting down enemy jets, and it's very difficult to shoot down an enemy who has longer reaching missiles. That's very non-trivial task, and we have pilots who shot down 4 and even 5 foes already. I did consult with our military. They confirmed that, yeah, we do have ones who, quite a number of pilots who shot 1 or 2, but we even have the ones who also have ones who shot 4 and 5 of Russian jets, and they're successfully fighting with UAVs and other means that Russia sends at us. The guy who was made famous recently, Karaya, he shot about 5 UAVs in one battle. And remember, that's the guy who shot himself a selfie with a bloody face after landing and losing a jet after the successful battle and shooting down a number of enemy targets. It's, I would say, still skeptical about the Mirages because it's a lot of work. It's a big effort that needs to be spread throughout the territory. They cannot be based out of one airfield. They need to be based throughout So all these support activities need to be blanketly installed and available in different parts of the country. And it is solvable, but it is a process. It is a process of re-establishing Ukrainian military as Western military and going away from the post-Soviet standards. And in order to provide for a full coverage to be a dominant force in the skies, we need probably upwards of 200 jets, 250 jets. But even these numbers that are being quoted, that's good steps towards it. It's just a process. It'll take time. And frankly, we don't necessarily need to have that much limelight on the jets. I would say we have enough artillery to attack enemy up to 100 miles around the front line. But what I'm saying is we need further reaching missiles. We need further reaching artillery and means to shoot further, deeper, maybe to 150 miles deeper from the front. And if we have that equipment, if we can reach the enemy that far out, we don't even need to have best trained infantry. We just need to be able to take the enemy out first with artillery, and then even a new mobilized infantry can take care of the remainders. So every time I'm going to any international event, I'm appealing to the international community, to our partners there, that this is all bought by the blood of our military, by our people, by our men and women fighting on the front. Why is it okay to shoot them 70 kilometers deep, but it's not okay to shoot Russian invaders 150 kilometers deep when they're shooting us up with 2,000-mile range missiles? Aviation is all that. That's good, of course. But I would say the first and simple step would be to transfer the more far-reaching missiles for HIMARS, because that's a much simpler event. You just transfer missiles. We already have experts who know how to shoot. We already have the machines. We know how to do that. And why is it okay with 70-mile radius? Why is it not okay with 150? Because every day that is being delayed, the decision is being delayed, it's causing more and more blood of our soldiers. And every day I'm getting messages from my friends from the front that so-and-so died, so-and-so wounded. We're paying with blood for that. And with all the thanks that I have for support and continuous support of Ukraine in these dire times, sometimes I'm just flabbergasted. Why is it okay to support us with 70-kilometer radius missiles, but it's not okay to do 150? What escalation are you afraid of? China already said there is no nuclear escalation. They're already against Putin's escalations. So what are you afraid of? All right. 44 minutes live. Let's make a pause till Wednesday, right? We're coming out at 10 Kiev on Wednesday. Right. At the very end, I want to make a statement about the destiny of Mikhail Saakashvili. That question is being asked regularly. We are continuing an effort. I met in Paris with Elizaveta Yasko, who is a civilian wife of Mikhail Saakashvili. We are working with groups of power, and we are awaiting for certain decisions that are coming through that will affect his destiny. So there is nothing we can do at the moment. We understand